Disclaimer: this content is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. My name is Lena. I'm 32, and I've made a mess of my life. I don't say that to be dramatic, trust me, I've had enough drama to last a lifetime, but because it's the truth that keeps me up at night, that presses on my chest when I wake up alone, that I try to swallow with cheap coffee and half-hearted affirmations in the mirror. I left him. I left Daniel. And then I got pregnant. And now I'm broke. And now I'm here, sitting in my sister's tiny guest room, holding my swollen belly and wondering if asking him for another chance makes me pathetic or brave. Daniel and I were together for 7 years. 7 years. That kind of time wraps itself around you, buries roots into your skin. When we met, I was working as a freelance designer, wild, impulsive, full of ideas. He was stable, structured. An accountant, with this quiet way of making everything seem possible. His stability was intoxicating. He made me feel like the world wasn't going to collapse if I stopped hustling for 1 minute. In the beginning, God, we couldn't get enough of each other. His hands were always on me, my waist, the small of my back, my face cupped gently like he was scared I might disappear. We'd lie in bed for hours, tangled up, whispering stupid dreams in the dark. There was laughter, inside jokes, late-night road trips where we sang like idiots and stopped for gas station snacks we didn't need. But love doesn't just evaporate overnight, does it? It slips through cracks. Slowly. So slowly you don't notice until you're standing in the ruins wondering how you missed the fire. I think the first crack came when my freelance work dried up during that awful winter 2 years ago. Suddenly, I wasn't contributing financially. Daniel never said anything cruel, no accusations, no blame, but his silence was worse. The way his jaw tightened when the bills came. The way his hug started to feel more like obligation than comfort. We still kissed, but sometimes his lips felt dry, distracted. He'd pull away quicker than he used to. Our bodies stopped finding each other as easily. There were moments, quick, dutiful, passionless, but they left me lonelier than before. I started initiating more, hoping to revive something. His hands would trace my back absently, but his mind was somewhere else. The warmth faded, and with it, so did a part of me. At night, I'd roll toward him, pressing my body against his broad back, craving closeness. Sometimes he'd reach behind him, pat my hip like a father settling a child, murmuring, "Sleep, baby." And I'd close my eyes, feeling the emptiness settle deeper. I started to resent how hard I was trying. How I was shrinking myself so he wouldn't feel my disappointment. I stopped sharing my designs, my little wins, my hopes. He seemed relieved when I didn't. We never fought. That was the worst part. We were polite. Careful. The silences stretched longer, like tightropes between us. I'd make his favorite meals, and he'd say, "Thanks, babe," but never look up from his phone. The exact moment I knew something was wrong. It was stupid, really. We were at his company's holiday party. I wore this emerald green dress, the one he used to say made me look like trouble. I caught him across the room talking to some of his coworkers, laughing, looking vibrant and alive in a way he hadn't around me in months. When our eyes met, he smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. He gave me that distant, polite nod people give acquaintances at weddings. And I realized, I wasn't his partner anymore. I was someone he brought along because he was supposed to. That night, in bed, I whispered, "Do you still love me?" He didn't answer right away. Just kept staring at the ceiling like he was counting stars only he could see. Finally, he said, "Of course I do." "Don't be silly." But I heard it. The lie. The softness in his voice was pity, not passion. That's when I knew. And a few months later, I left. Daniel's doing well now. He got promoted last fall, regional finance director. The kind of job that comes with a corner office, travel perks, and a bonus that could have covered our old rent twice over. He's thriving. And I'm, well, you know where I am. When we met, Daniel was just starting out, buried in spreadsheets at a mid-sized accounting firm. I loved how driven he was, how seriously he took his work, how his eyes lit up when he solved a complicated problem. I used to tease him that he could make tax code sound sexy. Now he handles multi-million-dollar mergers. His world got bigger, and somehow, I shrank in it. I think about that night often, the one that pushed us closer to the edge than we realized. It was last spring. I had been home all day, trying to pull together freelance gigs, sending out resumes that vanished into the void. The apartment was spotless because cleaning was the only thing that gave me a shred of control. I made his favorite, roasted salmon with lemon butter, garlic potatoes, a salad he'd probably barely touch. When Daniel walked in, he looked exhausted but distracted, like his mind was still stuck in some boardroom. "Hey, babe," he said, setting his briefcase down, loosening his tie. He walked over and kissed my cheek, barely grazing my skin. "Smells amazing." I tried to smile, but it faltered. "Dinner's ready." We sat down. I waited for him to ask about my day, even just a simple, "How are you?" But instead, he launched into a story about his firm's new international client. His voice was animated, his hands moving in that way I used to love. But all I could feel was this invisible wall between us. I wanted to scream, "Notice me. Ask me something real." Instead, I listened. I nodded. I smiled on cue. After dinner, as I was clearing plates, he came up behind me, slipping his arms around my waist. His hands trailed down to my hips, lips brushing against my neck. "You smell so good," he murmured, pressing closer. I stiffened. Not because I didn't want him, God, I missed wanting him, but because it felt like skipping pages. Like he didn't see that my heart was aching. Like he was trying to fix everything with sex, with touch, when what I needed was for him to just sit with me in my emptiness for a moment. "Daniel," I whispered, my voice tight. "Not now." He froze, pulling back slightly, confused. "What's wrong? You're always saying we don't connect enough." "That's not what I mean." My throat burned. "It's not about sex." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I'm trying, Lena. I work all day, I come home, and I want to be close to you. I need you to see me," I said, my voice breaking. "Not just, want me." He stepped back, frustration creeping into his face. "I can't read your mind, Lena. Every time I touch you, you pull away. And when I don't, you say I'm distant. I don't know what you want from me anymore." Tears stung my eyes. "I want you to care enough to ask." He looked at me like I was speaking a language he couldn't translate. That's the thing about Daniel, he fixes problems. He doesn't sit in them. My sadness wasn't something he could calculate or budget away. So instead, he tried to love me with his hands, his body, hoping it would patch over the places where we were breaking. We slept on opposite sides of the bed that night, the silence thick and suffocating. I stared at the ceiling long after his breathing slowed into sleep. That was one of the last times we tried. It got harder after that night. I started to dread the moments that used to comfort me. The casual way his hand would find my lower back when we walked into a room. The way he'd lean in and kiss my temple while I made coffee. His fingertips grazing my waist when I passed by. Little things. Things that used to make me feel adored. But now? They felt loaded. Heavy with expectation. One evening, maybe a month before I left, we were sitting on the couch. He'd just gotten home from another business trip, Paris, I think. Or maybe Frankfurt. The city started to blur together, just like our conversations. He slid in next to me, close. His hand landed on my thigh, thumb tracing soft circles over my leggings. "I missed you," he whispered, leaning in to kiss my shoulder. I stiffened, forcing a smile. "Yeah. Welcome home." Daniel pulled back slightly, his brow furrowing like he could sense something off but didn't know how to name it. He always tried to close the distance with touch, like if he just held me close enough, I'd melt into the version of me he wanted. His hand drifted higher on my leg, fingers curling gently around my hip. I felt my stomach clench, not with desire, but with dread. Not because I didn't love him, God, I wished I didn't still love him, but because every time he touched me like that, it felt like a transaction. Like affection always had to be a prelude to something more. "Lena," he murmured, voice soft, warm. "Let's just be together tonight." I swallowed hard. My skin prickled where his hand rested. I should have wanted this, to reconnect, to feel wanted, but instead, my mind raced. If I give in now, does that mean everything's fine? Does he think this fixes it? I shifted, gently removing his hand. "I'm tired," I said, trying to keep my voice even. His face fell. "You're always tired." "I've just got a lot on my mind, Daniel." "You always have a lot on your mind." His voice was calm, but tight, like he was balancing irritation and restraint. "I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. I try to show you how much I want you, but you keep shutting me out." I looked away, my chest tightening. "It's not about you wanting me. It's about feeling like that's all you want." "That's not fair," he said, his voice cracking just slightly. "I love you. You know that." I blinked quickly, willing the tears back. "Then why do I feel so alone?" He exhaled sharply, running both hands through his hair, the way he always did when he was frustrated. "I don't know what you expect, Lena. I work my ass off to give us a good life. I'm here, aren't I?" "Yes. Physically, you're here." I whispered it so softly I wasn't sure if he even heard. Silence hung between us, thick and sharp. His eyes were wide, hurt, searching for something he couldn't find in me anymore. He reached out again, cupping my face gently. "Baby, please. I just want us to feel close again." I closed my eyes, feeling his thumb stroke my cheek. I wanted to lean into him, to let his touch mean something. But inside, I recoiled. My body tensed beneath the softness. The kiss came next, slow, warm, practiced. His lips pressed against mine, moving gently, searching for the version of me that used to kiss back with abandon. I let him kiss me. My lips moved, but my heart didn't. I felt numb. As he deepened the kiss, his hand slipped under my shirt, and something inside me shut down completely. I pulled away, gently but firmly. "Daniel, not tonight." The frustration flashed in his eyes before he masked it. "Right. Of course." The air grew colder between us. He leaned back against the couch, defeated, while I hugged my knees to my chest. Why does everything have to turn into sex? The night it all came crashing down wasn't dramatic. Not at first. That's what made it worse. We were at a new restaurant Daniel had been raving about for weeks, upscale, minimalist, the kind of place where the servers wore tailored vests and you had to pretend you liked tiny portions that cost half a paycheck. He was in a good mood. Work had been going well, another client signed, another bonus coming. His phone buzzed twice during the appetizer, but he ignored it, smiling like he was trying hard to be present. "This feels nice, doesn't it?" he said, reaching across the table to take my hand. I let him. His palm was warm, his thumb brushing small circles on my skin like it always used to. I wanted to feel something from it. Comfort. Safety. Desire. Anything. Instead, it felt like a spotlight shining on everything we'd lost. "Yeah," I said quietly. "It's nice." He squeezed my hand gently, searching my face. "You okay?" I opened my mouth to say yes, like always. But this time, the words lodged in my throat. I wasn't okay. I hadn't been okay for a long time. The waitress arrived with our entrees, breaking the moment. Daniel dove into his steak, humming his approval. I pushed my food around the plate, my stomach tight. "I was thinking," he said between bites, "maybe we should take a trip. Just us. Clear our heads. Mexico? Or maybe Italy, you've always wanted to see Florence." I stared at him, my fork frozen midair. "A vacation." "Yeah." His eyes brightened. "We could use it, right? Get back to us." I felt the heat rise in my chest. The familiar frustration bubbled up so fast I barely had time to brace for it. "A vacation isn't going to fix this, Daniel." He blinked. "I'm not trying to fix anything. I just want us to have some fun again. Like before." I dropped my fork, the clatter loud in the hushed restaurant. Heads turned. My cheeks burned. "You keep acting like this is some little rough patch. Like all we need is sunshine and cocktails, and everything will magically be okay. But you don't see me, Daniel. You haven't seen me in months." His face tightened. "Lena, can we not do this here?" "Why not?" My voice cracked, too loud. "We never do it anywhere else." "Lower your voice," he hissed, leaning in. "You're making a scene." The sting of humiliation only made the anger surge higher. My eyes blurred with tears I couldn't hold back anymore. "I feel like I don't even exist to you unless you want something physical from me," I whispered, my voice trembling. "I'm not your trophy, Daniel. I'm not just someone you bring to dinners and crawl into bed with when it's convenient." "That's not fair," he said sharply, his jaw clenched. "I've done everything I can to support us. I work late, I travel, I didn't ask for any of that." The tears were falling freely now. "I needed you. Not the money. Not the trips. You." The silence between us was deafening. Other diners pretended not to stare, but I could feel their eyes. My breath came in shallow gasps as I wiped at my face, trying to pull myself together. Daniel sat back, his expression a mix of confusion, anger, and something else, something hollow. "I don't know what else you want from me, Lena," he said softly. "I've given you everything." I swallowed hard, my chest aching. "I didn't want everything. I just wanted us." He said nothing. Just stared down at his half-finished meal like it held answers he couldn't find in me anymore. The ride home was silent. He didn't reach for my hand. I didn't offer it. Later that night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The familiar ache settled deep in my stomach, guilt, shame, confusion all swirling together. Maybe I'm broken, I thought. Maybe I ruined something good. Why couldn't I just be happy? And yet, the bitter echo of my own voice haunted me. Why does everything have to turn into sex? The days after the restaurant felt like walking through a house with no windows. Just airless, gray silence. Daniel stopped trying. Or maybe I stopped noticing. Either way, we drifted like strangers in the same small apartment. We still said good morning, still exchanged empty words. "Do you need anything from the store?" "Your package came." But his eyes rarely met mine anymore. His touches stopped. The absence of them was louder than his presence ever was. I missed him. God, I missed him so much I could barely breathe. I'd catch glimpses of him, sitting at the kitchen table reviewing contracts, his brow furrowed the way it always did when he was focused. He'd sip his coffee, quietly scrolling through his phone, pausing only to sigh when an email came through. Sometimes I watched him from the hallway like a coward. I'd remember how I used to sneak up behind him, wrap my arms around his shoulders, kiss his cheek. How he'd smile and tug me into his lap, like we were still 25 and nothing could touch us. Now there was a space between us I didn't know how to cross. One evening, I heard him on the phone with his brother. His voice was low, tired. "No, I don't know, man. She's distant. I don't know how to reach her anymore." A pause. "Yeah. I know I work a lot. I thought I was doing the right thing, you know?" Another pause. "No, she's not seeing anyone else. It's not like that." His voice broke slightly. "It's like she's already gone, but still here." I backed away before I heard any more. My chest felt like it was folding in on itself. He wasn't a bad man. He was trying in the only way he knew how. He thought providing was love. Stability, comfort, security, that's what he believed I needed most. And I thought he should have known I needed his heart. His attention. His softness. Maybe we both failed each other. That night, he came home later than usual. The door clicked softly behind him as I sat on the couch pretending to read. He stood there for a moment like he was debating whether to say something or just walk past me entirely. "Hey," I offered, my voice quiet. "Long day?" He nodded, dropping his keys in the bowl by the door. "Yeah. Meetings ran over." He paused. "You ate?" I nodded again. "Good." His voice was flat, almost mechanical. And then he disappeared into the bedroom. The loneliness felt sharp, almost physical. Like tiny splinters beneath my skin. I wanted to run after him, to throw my arms around him, to say I'm still here, I'm sorry, please don't give up on us. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, I sat there, staring at the muted television, feeling the tears creep up again. The distance wasn't just his anymore. I had built walls too, out of fear, disappointment, pride. I'd been waiting for him to break them down, to come after me. But maybe he'd been waiting, too. Maybe we were both so tired of failing each other that we forgot how to try. Lying in bed that night, I listened to his breathing, steady and distant beside me. Do I fight for this? I asked myself. Or do I finally let it go? In the end, I left. It wasn't one explosive moment. No final argument, no slammed doors. Just a quiet morning, the kind that looks like any other until you realize it's not. Daniel sat at the kitchen table, sipping his coffee, scrolling his phone. The sun streamed through the blinds, casting long stripes across his face. I stood there for a long time, watching him, trying to memorize everything. The slope of his shoulders, the small crease between his brows, the quiet exhaustion in his posture. He looked up and saw me. For a brief second, his face softened, like he almost smiled. Like there was still something tender buried beneath the distance. But it flickered out before it fully formed. "Morning," he said softly. "Morning," I whispered back. We stood in that fragile space, neither one of us knowing how to close it anymore. "I've been thinking," I finally said, my voice trembling. Maybe we need some space. Real space." Daniel's jaw tensed, but he didn't look surprised. "Just tired." "If that's what you need," he said. His voice was gentle, but it carried the weight of surrender. The sound of someone who had already grieved this long before I spoke the words. "I don't want to hurt you," I added quickly, feeling the tears rise again. "I never wanted this to happen. I don't know how to fix it anymore." He exhaled, setting his cup down carefully like any sudden movement might shatter both of us. "I know," he said quietly. I don't either. For a moment, I wished he would fight. Raise his voice. Beg me to stay. Something. But instead, he stood up and crossed the room, closing the distance in a few careful steps. His arms wrapped around me, pulling me into his chest. I melted into him, breathing in his familiar scent, laundry detergent and aftershave, and for a moment, we were us again. My head pressed against his heartbeat. His hand gently cradled the back of my head, his lips pressing a soft kiss to my hairline. A tender, mournful kiss, the kind that says goodbye without saying the word. I love you, Lena, he whispered. But maybe love isn't enough right now. My body shook with silent sobs as I clung to him, feeling both comforted and hollow at the same time. I love you too, I whispered back. I always will. Later that day, I packed a small bag and walked out the door. Weeks later, I would find out I was pregnant. And now, sitting here in my sister's guest room, broke and terrified, I find myself wondering if I made the biggest mistake of my life. He's doing well now. And I'm not. And maybe, just maybe, that's why I picked up my phone tonight, staring at his name, asking myself the hardest question of all, do I deserve another chance? I've been sitting here for hours, just thinking. It's funny, isn't it? How you can be so certain at one point in your life, so sure you're doing the right thing, and then, months later, you're standing in the ruins, wondering if you even recognize yourself anymore. When I left Daniel, I thought I was saving myself. I thought, I can't keep suffocating. I can't keep shrinking. If I stay, I'll disappear entirely. And I wasn't wrong. But I wasn't entirely right either. I spent so long believing that love was supposed to feel effortless. That if you really loved each other, you wouldn't have to explain your needs, or teach someone how to hold you emotionally, or ask, God forbid, for attention. And when it stopped feeling effortless with Daniel, I told myself that meant something was broken. What I've learned since, what settled into my bones in the long, quiet nights I spend alone, is that love isn't the absence of struggle. It's the willingness to stay at the table. To say the awkward thing. To hear the uncomfortable truth. To fail each other sometimes and still choose to try again the next day. We didn't fail because we stopped loving each other. We failed because neither of us knew how to speak the language the other one needed. Daniel thought love was sacrifice, long hours, promotions, stability. Providing so I wouldn't have to worry. I thought love was presence, softness, curiosity, emotional safety. Neither of us were wrong. But we were speaking past each other, both waiting for the other person to just know. And I see now how unfair that was. I was so scared of being needy, of being too much, that I never gave him the chance to really know me. I pulled away every time he reached out physically because I wanted him to reach out emotionally first. And when he didn't, I mistook that for indifference. But I see his sadness now in a way I couldn't then. The frustration in his eyes wasn't always anger, it was helplessness. He didn't know how to fix what he couldn't name. And now, sitting here, broke, pregnant, unsure, I find myself reaching for him again. Not because I want him to save me, but because I finally understand what I didn't before. I don't know if he'll take my call. I don't know if there's anything left between us that can be salvaged. But I do know this, love isn't just desire. It's not just sacrifice. It's the hard, unglamorous work of seeing someone, really seeing them, and letting yourself be seen too. If I ever get the chance to love him again, I'll do it differently. I'll tell him when I feel lost. I'll let him comfort me, even if it feels messy. I'll stop waiting for him to read my mind. I'll let him in, fully, imperfectly. And if I don't get that chance, well, then I'll carry this forward. Into motherhood. Into whatever comes next. Because this isn't just a story about Daniel and me. It's about learning how to hold space for love, not the fantasy, but the real thing. The flawed, fragile, beautiful thing. So, no, I don't regret leaving. And I don't regret loving him either. I just wish I had learned sooner that love isn't about never falling apart. It's about having the courage to rebuild. Even when you're scared. Even when you don't know if you'll succeed. Even when you have to do it alone.